Hey, what nuts? It's Wednesday, December 20th. The Libs have won. We are doing our first totally remote show where none of us are in the same place, and I'm just calling attention to it in case there's anything that doesn't go perfectly. I think that are all three of us somehow getting the post-Columbus flu half a week later?
Yeah, I think so. I woke up. It was one of those wake up in the morning and you immediately know something's wrong and your life is about to change for the next 2 days. I woke up and I was like, oh shit. Night sweats, all that good stuff. I felt very bad and was like, boys, I am not coming in. And then I felt a little bit better, not to wish ill on anybody else, but when Sean was like, I also feel terrible, it felt less like I was fucking up the whole operation. So shout out to Sean and his sickness as well.
Me, I could have just used a few more hours at home. I've been either editing or in a computer and not drinking water for a couple of days now. And this was a nice little opportunity for me to rest up. But I still feel like absolute hell. So it's nice that all three of us are getting a little break here. I'll tell you who could use a break.
Before I jump in, can you slide a little bit to your right? It's gonna freak me out with my OCD. You're soft centered.
No, this is an ECAM issue.
This is not an ECAM issue. There you go. Thank you very much.
Do we have some sort of sponsorship with ECAM? Do we have an affiliation with ECAM?
Not as far as I know, other than the fact that's what we always use.
Okay. I was going to say not my favorite, but who knows? Maybe we'll have a fruitful relationship at some point with them at some point. Tell you who doesn't have a fruitful relationship, the Colorado Avalanche with each other, because they lose to the Blackhawks last night 3-2. They've lost 2 of 3, but it has kind of felt like they've sucked for a while. They've lost 7 of 11, and you're having moments where players' dads are calling out players, and players are calling out players' dads. And last night, would you say the shit hit the fan?
Again, perhaps this one felt more indicative of the team as a whole, because obviously the Arturi Lekkonen's dad and Mikko Rantanen was sort of like a personal feud. He called out him personally. Last night, Devon Toews, after the loss, got in front of a microphone and basically ripped several of his teammates in no uncertain terms. And that was you very rarely see a guy get in front of cameras and be like, yo, my teammates suck right now. And that felt crazy. And we have the clip. So, Sean, if you want to roll it, I can't do it justice without actually showing and hearing it.
I mean, it's self-awareness. We need guys that know how to play in our system, how to play our game, and know what it takes. And if we have guys in here, I think we got some guys that think they're playing well, and I think they're kidding themselves at this point. It's frustrating to play with, play out there when you got guys that think they're playing well and they're doing things that you have no idea what play they're going to make or where they're going to be on the ice. And it's tough to play in this league when you don't know where your teammates are going to be. So that's where a lot of the frustration stems from.
So obviously that is a very strong statement there. And honestly, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. The Avalanche do not look like a cohesive unit. And we've talked about it a couple times throughout this season, where they're one of those teams that can be very good, but they can also get undone very quickly. And if you lose to the Blackhawks, that sends people into a real frenzy. And Devon Toews, who played almost 30 minutes last night, I think he had like 29:50 of ice time last night. Clearly not happen with what he saw from his teammates there.
Yeah, I wish you named names, but you can't have everything. I mean, it's
Yeah, right.
unbelievable that we got that crumb or like 5 slices in the first place. But yeah, something's up with this team, man. Like going back to that road trip at the end of November where earmuffs Sean, they lose to the Coyotes in overtime. They lose in a shootout to the Ducks, who at that point were starting to show they're kind of what we thought they were going to be and not the world beaters they were to begin the season. And then they get smoked by the Kings. You can have these little lulls and everything, but they then lost 2 of the next 3 after that, and they've never really gotten it back. Like even their wins, 6-5 over Calgary, their only convincing win in a while. I mean, other than the other night against San Jose, but with how they're playing right now, that doesn't really count.
San Jose, yeah.
It's like right, like they've smoked San Jose and they've smoked Buffalo, and everything other than that, going back forever, going back to like the end of November, is really, really close games and often losses against beatable teams. Philadelphia smoked them. I know that Philadelphia is off to a good start this season, but like for the team that Colorado is supposed to be, they haven't been it yet, and you've already had some level of infighting at least twice this season. Amazing.
Yeah.
I do kind of wish you named names.
I do too, for sure. And I have
You have
my
your
guesses.
list of
I have my
suspects.
guesses. Yeah. One of the guys that immediately jumped to the front of my mind, and hate to speculate or whatever, but like Ryan Johansson was traded for essentially nothing from the Nashville Predators because Barry Trotz identified him as a guy who kind of worsened the culture in Nashville. Him and Matt Duchene were both traded as, or I guess Matt Duchene was bought out, both gotten rid of as locker room moves. And
Yeah,
Ryan Johansson kind of being new in that locker room, and Taves clearly kind of identifying people who aren't getting it and who aren't really adjusting to the system in Colorado, made his name jump to the front of the list. And obviously he's not having the best season either.
we can agree that Ryan Johansson is too good a player to be having the career he's had, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, he's got 10 goals this year, which is like
12
fourth
points.
on the yeah, 10 goals and 12 points is
A
extremely
DeBruskian,
rare.
a DeBruskian 10 goals and 12 points.
Yeah, but I mean, he's fourth on the Avs in goals. This team is just not getting enough from those secondary and depth players. They're getting absolutely carried by guys like Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, who, that's why when we talk about Rantanen last week as a guy who is like, I am not doing enough for this team, he's well over a point per game right now.
Yeah, I didn't get that at all.
Yeah, right. So I think it's just frustration through that room. But the bigger question to me is this the most dramatic team in the NHL right now?
I think it's such a good question, and it immediately made me open what do I use on my computer? A text edit pad note, and just write all my thoughts from the top of the dome, and then dive into some stats and try to supplement and fill out who is the most dramatic team in the NHL. So the case for the Avalanche is, I mean, as we said, they've lost 2 of 3, 7 of their last 11. They've called out players twice in the last 2 weeks, one of which was something involving a father. That's kind of interesting. That's spicy. You can give them that. Oilers fired the coach and have Leon Draisaitl on the team. Started terrible, are now terrible again. That's a good candidate. Wild fired the coach, but are just boring. Senators fired the GM and coach in separate months. They've got an electric owner who's too big a coward to give daily press conferences a la Donald Trump. Do it. And they have a Kachuk on the team. So don't sleep on the Senators. My sneaky candidate, though, actually, I'll let you give some of yours before I give 2 more.
No, for me, there's a clear 1 and 2 or top 2, and it's Colorado and it's Ottawa. Right now, those are the 2 most dramatic teams in the league. I'm interested to hear who your third is.
All right. Well, there's this will be an honorable mention, and then I'll get to my sneaky like contender to really be the most dramatic team in the league. Honorable
Okay.
mention, Toronto Maple Leafs. They're the Leafs. B, they have
Yeah.
gone to overtime 13 times. That is so. It is,
Okay.
sir. It is December 20th. They have
But
gone
like,
to overtime 13 times,
but like
and a lot of
the
times it's because of something they did.
Yeah, but like that's like the baseline for the Leafs, right? Like that's who they are.
Yeah,
So
it's not. This is
that's
not. They haven't
it
fired
doesn't
anyone.
seem dramatic. It seems sort of like their coasting level. Like that is their resting heartbeat. So
So
they don't seem any more chaotic than they normally are. One team that I did forget about, Chicago Blackhawks. Chicago Blackhawks have had
they're
quite
an
a
honorable
dramatic
mention.
start to the season. Bedard, the obviously the Corey Perry stuff, sending him home. Then you've got stuff that comes out afterwards, and just kind of the frustration building with that team right now is but it's more of just kind of dysfunction more than it is dramatic.
Or growing pains. I mean, like
Yeah.
the Corey Perry thing. You don't want to kick someone off your team, but that happens
Hmm.
sometimes. And I can't look at them as dramatic because I don't look at that group and say what the hell is going on with those guys. I look at the Senators and say what the hell is going on with those guys. I
Yeah.
like the point that you raised though about the Leafs, and I'll put the Oilers in this group too. They're kind of like Patrick Mahomes going for an MVP where you're graded against yourself and not graded against the rest of the league. So if the Leafs could be more dramatic than everybody else, but if they're not being as dramatic as they were, like when Phil Kessel was eating too many hot dogs, they're not. Then a less dramatic current team will outshine them because the Leafs are compared to themselves. Patrick Mahomes is always going to be compared to the best of Patrick Mahomes, even if he's better than everybody else that season. He's not going to get that MVP. Oilers, I put in that same group. My sneaky candidate is the Red Wings. They've got players hitting both the gritty and themselves in the face with opponent's stick. They've had these big, wild swings up and down performance wise. Patrick Kane signing, all of that, courting, and they made gravy boats. I didn't see any other teams make gravy boats this season. So don't
It's
sleep on the
fair.
Red Wings.
It's I guess, but they're kind of like in the honorable mention category. Most of that stuff is hockey related. So, like to be the most dramatic team in the league, I'm looking for a little bit of like if Patrick Kane were to like be like, I'm here now, fuck all you guys, this is my team sort of deal, and maybe they enter the discussion. But I think this is a team that's just kind of riding the waves in like the course of a normal season. So they don't seem super dramatic to me.
I still think I have to put the Oilers ahead of the Avalanche, though. Like I think the
No
answer might be the
way.
Senators. I think the answer might be the Senators. They fired their coach. They were cup favorites, not contenders. They were cup favorites. Started horribly, which again, like shocker, Oilers, they do weird shit like that. I'm not going to throw injury stuff into the drama element of it, but they waived their highly paid goaltender, sent him to the AHL. That guy's still not back. Stu Skinner is playing all the time. Lest we forget, Gene is interviewing mustaches and talking to
Okay.
various hunters. I think I go Senators, Oilers, Avalanche. Give me your top
All right.
three.
Yeah, the Oilers are kind of like in the Leafs category where I expect them to be there. So I expect them to be one of the most chaotic teams and dramatic teams in the league. So I kind of maybe grade them on that scale. Top three, I'm gonna say Ottawa, Colorado, and Chicago.
Chicago. See, I don't even consider. I think Chicago is honorable mention at best because again, like they've got a good group, they've got leadership, they've got really only one thing happened, which was Corey Perry was kicked off the team.
It just seems like there's always some shit going on with them.
Well, they suck. Like,
Yeah.
love you mean it, Blackhawks. Like they suck. I don't think that. So, like, are the Blue Jackets dramatic because they kind of suck this season?
No, but they suck in boring ways. The
I don't
Blackhawks do
know,
not
man.
suck in boring ways. The
Marchenko's
Blackhawks
electric.
suck to like an astounding degree.
Yeah, you didn't see that overtime win over the Leafs, man. That shit was galvanizing. Sean, who do you think are who would your most dramatic team in the NHL be?
I mean, obviously slightly biased, but The Buffalo Sabres. I mean, between the expectations that they had and now them completely sucking, obviously we know what happened last night against the Blue Jackets. Devin Levi was supposed to be their future in net. They had to send him down to the AHL at one point. They don't know what they're doing there. Tage was hurt. Quinn finally came back, and we saw how that served him.
I'm going to jump in. I'm going to jump in and cut you off. Like, you're just naming reasons why the Buffalo Sabres suck, not why they're dramatic.
Yeah, I mean, but that's kind of half of what you did with some of your team. Like,
get them.
I mean, like, not everyone. I mean, I think the obvious answer is like the Blackhawks because of they're the Blackhawks. Like I feel like when especially people that aren't like having this conversation in depth, if you were to ask like just an average hockey fan who's the most dramatic team in hockey, I think the Blackhawks are going to be the answer you get from a lot of people. But I think the Senators are probably the right choice because in terms of like made for TV drama, like in between Ann Lauer and obviously firing their coach after letting him practice, like there's stuff like that. I just said Sabres because you had already said all the other teams, and I needed to bring up the Sabres.
I mean, we didn't really throw it in the rundown, but we're going to talk about the Blue Jackets at one point, but Blue Jackets fucking murdered your boys last night, Sean, and they did a little Blue Jacket-y thing and kind of let them score a couple there and make it a bit of a game, but it ends up being 9-4. I asked the question last night, did the Oilers need to fire their coach? I'll flip that and ask that about the Sabres, Sean.
I don't want to say yes, but I mean, it's tough because I think the first half of their season there are a lot of excuses as to why they sucked, and it doesn't involve Granato, right? Between Tage getting hurt, Quinn was a big part of their team last year, and he obviously was hurt. Benson was hurt for a decent amount, and he looked electric for the first couple of games. Like there's kind of built-in excuses, but at a certain point, it's like you got to do something. I don't think that this is the time to fire him because like this was the first year that you were really supposed to be winning hockey games, and you're not yet. Like I think you got to give him a little more time than that, especially considering what happened in the first half of this season so far. But I understand why the question is being asked for sure.
I think the conversation for sure is being had for a reason, and I kind of agree with you in that you don't rush to fire Don Granato. Like I don't think that rushing into firing for the sake of firing him doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, just because we've seen how he's been able to get the most out of a lot of the guys on that team, particularly last year and with Tage. I just think that this team, I mean, we had this conversation last week, but this team needs a kind of an identity reset, and it needs more of defensive accountability and effort accountability. And if you don't start getting that soon, I think maybe you're pushed into a position where you have to fire him, because like you can't let what's happening to the Sabres carry on for the remainder of this season just to kind of stick it out. I think that they need to begin the process of potentially identifying who their next coach is right now, especially with guys on the market like Berube and with the firings that we've had, or
the potential firing of Lindy Ruff, bringing back.
So I was going to say another submission that I left out for dramatic teams, who I put like seriously right there with the Blackhawks. Devils haven't had the start that they want, but also every 5 seconds is Lindy beloved, or is he on the hot seat? Should he get out of there? I want him to get I want him to get fired at this point, just because I want to see where he ends up. He's like he's like the modern day Marty Schottenheimer, Claude Julien type, that he's not going to be available for long. He's going to go somewhere, get a team to the playoffs, and then you see what ends up happening from there. I mean, Lindy to the Sabres would be hilarious.
Sabres fans would treat him right. Do
you think so?
I mean, I think they would, only because they have not been as good as they were with Lindy Ruff since he got fired. Like it's been bad. I think the leash would obviously be quite short, but it's like in my lifetime, the Sabres have not been nearly as good or as exciting. Well, I mean, they're exciting in ways now, obviously, but they have not reached even close to the peak that they did with Lindy Ruff.
I think that like the Lindy Ruff I thought Lindy Ruff should have been. They should have moved on from Lindy Ruff in New Jersey after last playoff run. It's clearly like part of a transition for the Devils, where I only expect him to be the coach for like this year, and then they're probably going to move on. I don't know though, but like if him going to Buffalo would not excite me. I just feel like Berube is the kind of guy that helps the Sabres a lot more, especially in a long term vision. I don't know, like I just don't see Ruff being the guy there.
And you mentioned Berube. Why didn't we mention the Blues as a dramatic team? We had Waterworks
That's
the
true.
other day. We had a lot of back and forth with the Jordan Kyrou situation. It doesn't make me say that's the most dramatic team, but it is a dramatic moment.
We haven't had enough from Jordan Binnington to have them be included in the most dramatic team. Like if Binnington had thrown a few shit fits, little baby tantrums over the course of the year, maybe they enter into discussion. But I just think the Blues are kind of like a boring team for the most part here.
Well, we must note that the Senators, I believe, are the first team to fire the coach and lose the next game. Oilers continued their winning streak that Jay Woodcroft had started. Wild won the first under Hines. I think they won a couple, actually. And who am I missing? Blues won after making the coaching change. Senators say, DJ Smith, take your periods and get out of here. And they blow a 3-0 lead against the lowly Coyotes. And that's where the Senators
The lowly Coyotes.
Complete and utter disrespect.
I'm just reading what Sean wrote in the rundown.
I never
Coyotes,
wrote or said such a thing.
Sean writes scripts for us, by the way. If you can't tell, this is a extremely scripted show.
Yes. No, the Coyotes looked awesome last night. Obviously, going down at a 3-0 deficit, not great, but boy, they throttled Ottawa. You could see that comeback coming the entire time. And
did Anthony Duclair galvanize the Arizona Coyotes?
Hunter Cherney did.
Mullet's
a hard place to play, man. Like teams have really struggled to play in Mullet. I think it's something we talked a lot about in Arizona, obviously, but like it's such a unique atmosphere that guys get there and they're like, what is this? Like they get so thrown off, they're not really like in the game, and the next thing you know, the Arizona Coyotes are on top of you.
I don't know. The Senators are a really, really depressing team. Like I couldn't even kind of like revel in their misery last night just because of they were getting fucking throttled, and things are bad there, and I feel bad for Senators fans having to put up with that team, and you could tell like the effort level just isn't there. And I saw it came out yesterday. The Sens had an optional practice after firing the coach. They had an optional skate on Tuesday morning, and like 10 guys showed up. If you fire the coach and have an optional practice the next day, you gotta show up. Like, does that not seem like that's a test?
Maybe, but the morning skate is so dead and so many skates are optional these days. If this were 10, 15 years ago, yes, I still probably would have shown up if I were a player, but I take morning skate and the NHL takes morning skate. Like if this were a practice, sure, but morning skate is the most vestigial exercise that exists in pro sports. It doesn't do anything. Players aren't showing up to the arena drunk anymore. They're not hungover. I think though this would be like more like calling an informal meeting and players not going. And that's kind of weird. Like they should still go to it. But
I'm not talking about them showing up and doing fucking sprints for an hour before the game, but like again, you're showing up for a brand new coach, and it's the day after your coach gets fired, largely, due to bad coaching, but also because of lack of effort, lack of commitment, and then only like 10 guys show up for the optional skate. I do feel like that's a test that was failed by a lot of guys.
I mean, far be it from the Senators this year to fail a test. I do hope though that now Andlauer has to answer for it. Say what's going on with your team. Firing a coach wasn't enough for you. They're not responding to the new guy. Has Jacques Martin lost the room?
I did see Daniel Alfredson was on the bench yelling at guys quite a bit last night. And that's funny to me because Daniel Alfredson was, I believe, at the beginning of the year when they brought him in to the organization to hold a role. It was a very scaled back role. He didn't want to travel with the team. He kind of wanted to just be around and not necessarily have it be like his real full-time commitment. And now he's on the bench. He is kind of being tasked with policing a lot of these guys and making sure they're accountable. And you started to see that last night on the bench where I saw a clip where somebody didn't finish their check in the corner, headed to the bench, and he was immediately there at the door to let him hear it. So like maybe that's what the Senators need, but obviously going up 3-0, then giving up 4 unanswered goals and losing is not a great sign and not very encouraging about where this team is headed. The firing of DJ Smith has not fixed the Senators.
Well, you know what can fix your digestive issues? Yeah, I'm going to say it, Olipop. 2 or 3 Americans have some sort of digestive issues. We've all been there. Americans, I mean. We've all been to America. And if you've got digestive issues, or if you just want a nice beverage that doesn't have so much sugar that's going to have you crash and burn and have you feeling all sluggish, I think Olipop is the drink for you. And if you use promo code CHAOS on drinkolipop.com, you get 20% off your order. You could also get it, you know where, 22,000 stores. Such amazing flavors such as ginger lemon, cherry vanilla, strawberry vanilla, vintage cola. There's the root beer. There's the orange. Sean loves the grape. I'm so crazy about it. I popped myself a lemon lime yesterday, and it was so good. I'm probably going to have another one today because when I find something I like, I stick to it. And for me right now, it's Olipop. Go to drinkolipop.com. Use promo code CHAOS for 20% off. The Boston Bruins are the coldest team in hockey.
Well, I don't know if I go that far, but they've not been good. I'll tell you that. I got a fun fact for you that I picked up before recording this show. All right, let me tell you, defensive rating over the past 2 weeks, where do you think the Bruins rank?
35th.
They've been without McAvoy. They've been without Zacha. They've not been the most healthiest team, but defensive rating at 5-on-5 over the past 2 weeks, where do the Bruins rank?
I mean, they're still not giving up a bajillion goals, but I'll say 20th.
They rank 28th. They are the 4th worst team in the league defensively.
There's 40 teams in the NHL, so that's not very good.
That's right. The only teams worse than the Bruins over the last 2 weeks in terms of defensive rating are, where is it? I wrote it down and now I lost it. Sorry.
But I mean,
where are we?
As you say that, I'll note
behind the Sharks, Blue Jackets, and Canadians. 3 very not good teams.
But they're still not allowing a lot of goals, though. Like, it's not like it's costing them a ton. Maybe it means they're playing in their own zone a lot, but it's not like they're getting their asses kicked like 5-1 or anything. They're allowing 3, like 2, 1, 3, sometimes 4 goals in regulation. Like, it's nothing that's so prohibitive. They're also not scoring.
Yeah, they're not scoring. Yeah.
I mean, so last night I don't even know. They come back. They blow a lead. They come back. There's a lot of back and forth against Minnesota. They lose 4-3 in overtime. Jim Montgomery, friend of the podcast, calls out Jake DeBrusk after the game. That was like a real call out. That was a specific call out. That wasn't any of this Devon Toews wussy footing. Did you hear that? I mean,
he called out a specific choice, which I think is different than calling out. Like, right? I mean, I saw that he called out his shot in overtime. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that calling out a specific choice, I think is fine. Like, you can criticize a player and be constructive of a player's shot choice. And it was a bad shot. 3-on-3 overtime, you need to pick your shots pretty wisely, because if you've got 3 guys pushing and going down low and you fire a shot that rings around the boards and goes the other way, you're fucked. Like, that's how 3-on-3 overtime works. And that was not a high percentage shot by Jake DeBrusk. Sent play the other way, and Kirill Kaprizov ends it. Like, I'm totally fine with calling that out. I think that my issue with the Bruins and how they've looked recently, and the defensive rating thing is what it is. I think this team is not as good as the numbers suggest defensively because their goaltending is so good. But it's the depth is becoming an issue with this team, because we've seen several games over the past couple of weeks where Jim Montgomery is shortening the bench at the end of games, and I think it's costing them games. Like, they ran out of steam in the third period because you're only rolling 3 lines. The fourth line got about, I think, 2 minutes of ice time in that third period last night. So if you're just gassing the other 3 lines, that you're putting yourself in a tough spot.
The most important thing that happened last night, though, is that Jacob Lauko, he of 0 goals this season, attempted a Michigan and came very close, almost scored. He also fought in that period, and it was just a wild stretch of time for friend of the show, Jacob Lauko. But the idea of somebody, I don't know, 30-ish games into the season with no goals, being like, I know how I'll do it, is the absolute best. I want Sean's take on this, because Sean is our resident Michigan guy.
Yeah, I mean, my immediate thought was about damn time, because as I mentioned during the Blue Jackets game, basically any time someone's behind the net, I scream Michigan. It reminded me also of when Pete and I played NHL in Columbus, because he was kicking my ass, and I still decided, you know what I need right now, to try and pull off a Michigan. And yeah, I mean, I love the Michigan. Go for it if you got it, but I guess he didn't really add it.
It's a big galvanizing the boys attempt. Number one, he tried with the fight, and it worked. They scored right after, and then he was like, I know how else I'll fire up and galvanize the boys. Michigan behind the net. But you're right, though. Like, one of the most psychotic periods of hockey that I've ever seen a player play, in that first period from Jacob Lauko, with the fight, then a Michigan attempt. I don't think I've ever seen a player do both of those things in one period. And to try to get your first goal 30 games into the season by doing that is incredible stuff.
It is so, and that was a good guess. 30 games this season. That's like the definition of you're not that guy. And
he might be.
Does not give very good attempt whether or not he's that guy. That's what I love about Lauko. I mean, I think that most of us should be the same way. Don't consider whether you're that guy. Do, as long as it's legal and isn't going to be a bad thing, do what you feel suits you in the moment. It's going to be good for you, and it's going to be good for everyone. If Lauko scored there, that would have been on par with Linus Ullmark's goalie goal last year.
Like, just as improbable, yes. I agree.
Also got to shout out Jeremy Swayman made a very ballsy save on the bench.
It was,
you see that?
Yeah, I did. It was very casual.
He did like a get this shit out of here save.
It was a real Dennis Drinkwater moment on the bench. Like, was not fazed by the flying puck at him, just made a very casual catch and then gave a wink. Like, Jeremy Swayman, I believe, is committed to becoming a sex symbol this season for reasons unknown, but he's doing pretty well at it. I think that Jeremy Swayman is winning over the hearts of a lot of people in Boston, and doing it in a way that, like, there's a lot of feral Bruins fans watching Jeremy Swayman this year.
I don't know if we're doing sex symbol stuff with the Bruins based on player entrances last night and big goals. Brad Marchand looked fantastic. Did you see his?
Yeah, but I don't think Brad Marchand. I think it's like a natural thing. I think that Brad Marchand just like naturally carries himself with big dick energy. It really doesn't put a lot of thought or care into how he carries himself, just kind of wings it. Jeremy Swayman, I think, set a standard for himself before the season, and he was like, I am going to be a sex symbol of this team.
One time in 2011, it was when the Bruins were in Lake Placid between games 3 and 4 or whatever in the first round against the Canadiens. The Bruins had availability somewhere. I don't know. I can't remember if it was their team hotel or something, but Marchand comes out and he's wearing 2 different sneakers. And it was not in like it wasn't like a KD released a colorway where the sneakers are different. He was just wearing 2 different sneakers.
He's just,
And
"Fuck you, I
not
do
in
what I
like
want."
like, what was this man up to last? Ooh, look who's wearing the wrong sneakers. I remember asking him like, why are you wearing 2 different sneakers? And like his answer was very oh shit, yeah, look at that, we're 2 different sneakers. He's the best.
Clearly not putting a lot of thought into. He was wearing a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ugly Christmas sweater last night.
Did see that. Got to mention 2 more things on the subject of fashion. Sean, do we have the Devils Pride Night jersey? All right. So Wyshynski just tweeted this. It's the Devils Pride Night jerseys. It kind of looks like soda, maybe. It looks a little
Not
like
Olipop.
soda. Not Olipop, but it's got like a kind of soda-y type of feel.
No, that kind of like that's reminds me of like Tide or something. Like it's like bubbles in the washing machine.
Yeah, like
It's like
soda?
if you throw too many colors in soda. It's throw too many colors in a wash and have like the dye all bleed and it becomes this thing.
Just accidentally using hot water on those colors.
Yes,
Something like
exactly.
that. I don't know.
Also, Pride Night jersey, I thought we weren't doing that.
Right. So the fun fact about this is players can wear them during their entrances. They can do. Let me see if I can find the tweet. So from Greg Wyshynski, they'll be worn during player arrivals. By the way, these were designed by local artist Catherine Kennedy. They'll be worn during player arrivals and auctioned off between December 21st and 28th. So if you can't make any trades, you can buy some nice Pride jerseys. The players can wear them anywhere in the building except the ice.
So this is crazy to me. Are we going to be right back to where we were, where it's like, who didn't wear the jersey? Who isn't wearing? Who doesn't want to wear the ribbon? Like if we're doing this, like the same thing is going to be happening in terms of the spotlight. I would imagine. I don't know.
I feel like
the Devils the most dramatic team in hockey.
Yeah.
I feel like this allows them to be a lot more selective about it, though. Like, if you don't want to wear it, then there's no pictures of you going to be taken. Whereas if you don't want to wear it pregame, then either you're not on the ice or you're wearing something different, which obviously doesn't really happen. I just want to say I'm very happy we no longer live in a society where Pride jerseys are just the rainbow in the logo. Like, it's just a rainbow version of the logo. I appreciate that they're trying to get a little more creative with it.
Yeah, that's very fair. I respect that. And also a great comment from our guy Jesse Larkin in the chat said they look like the Coke freestyle machines, where they have like all those little circles where you're pushing the button. Yeah, that is a great call.
I knew there was soda-related vibes to it. Yeah, there was some soda there. Thank you, Jesse. Sean, I think you are... Naive sounds condescending. I think that you are giving hockey... I know. I think that you're giving hockey fans too much credit. They will go one by one through the pictures to see who was wearing it and who wasn't. And if there isn't a picture of Luke Hughes or if there isn't a picture of Akira Schmid, whomever, they'll do the same. Like, it'll be the same thing of like.
I disagree. I disagree just because like this is not the first time this season a team has done this. Like, this has happened a bunch already in the NHL, and no one's made a big deal out of it.
Here's my theory: is that players who don't want to wear it don't have to wear it, and they'll come in, they'll do their player entrances and all that, and then if somebody identifies a player who didn't wear it, who there was no picture of, they can the team can go to them and be like, hey, people are starting to notice that there's no pictures of you wearing this jersey. You want to stage a picture? And then they have the option to stage a picture after the game and be like, no, see, we just didn't tweet it out. This picture exists. He did wear it in.
Exactly. I think they're gonna tweet. They're gonna do like what they do with any walk-in, where they're gonna tweet like 4 pictures of it, and then that's
Right.
gonna be the end of it. And so there's not really any way to know, like, if
Who or who did?
third line left wing didn't wear the jersey.
I don't know how psyched the queer community is and should be with where this has all gotten.
Oh, I mean,
You know?
yeah, it's the fact that this whole thing is becoming more of a
Like,
spectacle.
I mean, like that. Of course, like, I personally feel everyone should be upset or annoyed if somebody doesn't want to wear it. But all the spectacle element of it, and
Right.
like another opportunity for everyone in America to yell at each other when it's like, "Hey, man, like we
Well,
didn't fucking do anything here."
more than that, it's like we're joking about it right now as to like, how kind of roundabout we're getting here. And I think that this is just inviting jokes to like, okay, we're not wearing them on the ice, but you can wear them anywhere else in the building. Like that is so stupid that it is inviting jokes.
It is positively outrageous. The other fashion update, though, that we have is either today or tomorrow. I still got to shave 6 seconds off this thing. We will have another Pro Shop Wars. Editing Pro Shop Wars is the hardest thing in the world, but it's worth it because it has to be. Like, we have to do it. Otherwise, we're just losing a shitload of money for no reason. And the
I mean,
content needs to be made.
yeah, and we got to sell it. I'm very excited about this one that's coming out because it's a higher quality version, both in like the things that we got and how psychotic the presentation is. You put together a pretty psychotic presentation of this most recent Pro Shop Wars, and it's very good. I'm very excited to put it out there.
I scaled it down. Hey, fuck. I mean, would it be the worst if we showed like the
Yeah,
the
no,
test?
we're not showing the rough draft. No,
It
let's put
wasn't
out
a
the
rough draft, but I sent like a first 20 seconds of it just to be like, hey, if you two oppose strongly to this, tell me now and I won't go any further. And I ended up like reeling it in a little bit, but
Mhm.
not
It's still a
much.
little
Like
psychotic. Yeah,
it shouldn't. Yeah, it should. No half measures with this. It's set in a place that I feel. I think when you watch it, you'll be like, yeah, this needs a little. This needs to lean into to where it's taking place. But hopefully, you'll see that at some point today or tomorrow. It's currently at 96 seconds. You got to have it at 90. Those are the rules on the old Instagram.
I
But
hate that.
I hate it too. But thank you for bearing with us today in a remote and under the weather and all over the place day. Pete, do you have any stars or anybody that we should call out?
I don't have any stars in particular, but I do want to say the slate tonight is pretty weak. There's 3 games tonight, but I am excited for the Detroit Red Wings, one of maybe the most dramatic teams in hockey, according to
Possibly.
DJ. But they're playing America's team tonight. They're playing the Winnipeg Jets. The Winnipeg Jets have been a very fun team, and they've sort of broken my. Do you have this with some teams where you see their logo and you just like identify them as like, well, I'm not watching them tonight.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
The Islanders logo.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how we do things.
Yeah, it's
How else do you consume sports?
and we've talked about this where like we have to break out of those molds to kind of make sure we get a little bit of every team across the league and not just kind of lazily fall back into narratives that we've set for old versions of teams that may not exist anymore. The Winnipeg Jets are one of those teams for me because the Jets have been really, really, really good for the past couple weeks. And them looking that good without Kyle Connor is really impressive to me. And not only do they look good, they're exciting to watch. They're fun to watch. They play hard. They're a strong forechecking team. Like they've got a lot of talent there. This team is exciting to me, and they're one of those teams that I would constantly kind of disregard when I looked at the night slate. So if you're out on the Winnipeg Jets or you've historically been out on the Winnipeg Jets for the past couple of years, give them a chance tonight. Not much else to watch. Watch the Red Wings and Jets.
I'm Pete Blackburn, and I want you to watch the Winnipeg
right.
Jets. I know you see the fucking logo and you're like, I'm not watching the fucking Jets, but I feel that if we can all come together and be galvanized over this, they're pretty good without Kyle Connor. I'll tell you that much. Watch the Jets. I got to say, I'm peeking. I've peeked over just because this is a remote program. I peeked over at the YouTube chat a couple times just to make sure there aren't any we can't hear X or we can't see whatever. All you know what all the comments are?
No.
It's just all we want the director's cut. Show the most ridiculous version.
No, don't do it. Well, maybe do it after we actually put it out, because I want the first glimpse to be the final product.
I agree with that, because that's always fun when you see, because like you don't want to see the alternate ending before you see the movie.
Right, exactly.
Actually, I kind of do want to see that. Like go into a movie, be like, hey, this is how it doesn't end. And then try to figure it out from there. All right, we can rule out one possible ending.
Yes. I have to address, there was a hat trick last night. A hat trick from our guy, Kirill Marchenko, who we have grown to love. Kirill Marchenko hat trick last night, scored one of the best goals this entire NHL season, went through the legs, which in and of itself isn't that exciting anymore. And every player in the NHL can go through their legs, can score a goal. But Marchenko did it in such tight space with a defender all over him, put it top shelf. That was the first goal of the hat trick. Followed it up with a beauty about 18 seconds later, then capped it off a few minutes later with finish off a natural hat trick, no empty nets. Kirill Marchenko, I'm giving his hat trick last night a emphatic 3 out of 3 stars for the hat trick watch. So
3 out of 3.
Congratulations to our Marcella, which nobody will get that. Nobody will get that yet, but soon enough.
We have a burgeoning relationship with Kirill Marchenko.
He likes us. He likes the podcast.
I'll tell you what, we were meeting some people, and I was coming out of the bathroom, walking back to where we were all hanging out, and we were expecting Marchenko to come and hang out with us for a minute. And as I'm walking back, I see a player is walking towards the same area who's coming to meet us. It was Adam Fantilli, and I was looking at him from a distance, like as he was getting closer, and I was so disappointed. I was like, this is Kirill Marchenko. And then as I got closer, I was like, this is 1,000% Adam Fantilli.
Yeah.
And if you haven't watched that, by the way, check it out.
Yes. Adam Fantilli interview on YouTube right now. Some of the clips on Instagram and all there. So boost those, give them likes, give them comments.
And our accuracy
stuff, boys. Oh, right. Yeah. Just comment on all our stuff. It helps boost the profile, engagement, all that stuff. My one takeaway from Columbus was that everybody in the Blue Jackets organization loves Kirill Marchenko as much as they possibly could love a person. The glowing reviews of that guy, both as a player and as a personality in the room, just like could not be stronger. And we got a glimpse of it. He is so fun and such a good player.
I'm going to say it. I was going to save this for after we aired the interview, but like captain material.
So are we just mentioning the fact that we have our Kirill Marchenko interview coming down the pipeline?
Obviously, at some point you'll get Marchenko. Maybe. Who knows? We haven't done it yet. Who knows? Now I'm gonna kid around. But like from talking to him, maybe in an interview, maybe outside of an interview, captain material. It's some like definitely not yet. Probably in like 6 or 7 years, but just an incredible disposition, an extremely thoughtful guy. Love him. And so fucking good. Like we could not take our eyes off him when we were watching that game.
The Blue Jackets have had a tough season so far, but if you're making a list of like positive takeaways from the season so far, that Russian line has been awesome. It's been awesome.
Someone in the chat says that Adamo was a real spicy meatball.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's a spicy meatball. You for sure have to do hats when you do the grading system for the hat trick.
Yeah, 3 out of 3 hats. I'm sorry.
3 out of 3 hats, and we could get different graphics. Maybe we could use like my Marian Hossa hat or something like that. Could be pretty neat. But stay on the various socials. I'm going to bust my hump, try to finish Pro Shop Wars today, get it out at some point for you all to enjoy, and we will be back tomorrow, possibly in person. But if anybody else is under the weather, heal up, watch some hockey tonight, and have a great day. Bye-bye.
We all silly like the mayor.